From the heart of Maine, this is the DuView Podcast.
All right, and welcome to this week's episode of the DuView Podcast. I am your host, Du, a.k.a. Ryan Dumont, and joining me this week for episode 36 is my buddy here, Rory Cunningham, also host of the Maine-based podcast, That's the World We're Living In. Rory, buddy, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, not a problem. So just, to start it off, as I like to with a lot of these episodes, because, again, the Maine focus is really a huge part of what I do here. Did you grow up in Maine? Do you call Maine fully your home?
I did. I was born in Augusta.
Right on.
I lived in Pittston my entire life until I moved out of my parents' house. And I lived in Gardner for a while, which is funny because growing up, I was a Gardner kid.
Yeah.
And now I've fully moved in to be
an Augusta person,
Augusta
right?
guy.
Yeah.
I have kids that have all went through the Augusta School District. So I'm definitely a Coney parent.
Yeah.
A Gardner child, but a Coney
parent,
yeah.
right? That's an interesting dynamic too. I'm sure. Were mom and dad like Gardner people, or
yeah, they were Gardner people for sure. And I was raised like we went to all the football games.
Tigers.
We knew the rivalry for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when my daughter was born, on the way to the hospital, we made a little video, just kind of like documenting. And I remember saying something like, "Yeah, we're on our way to have you. We're in Augusta right now, but don't worry, we won't live here too long." And they've grown up their entire life. And
that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing too, like the rivalry between. And I've talked about this on here before with other people that have grown up in the area. Anybody from my dad who went to Coney back in the graduated in '71, and how that rivalry has been around for just so long, like over 150 years of rivalry, which is really impressive. I mean. And
it's
really
gotten like national
attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is really unique, and I mean in the sense that our area, which consider kind of small scale or small potatoes in certain aspects, is kind of a big deal, and at the same time, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Really cool. And so you're in Augusta now, call Augusta home, and that's special in a lot of ways, as I've talked about recently too. Is that Augusta's really changed a lot.
A lot.
Yeah, like, I mean, the Ironman Challenge, I know I talked about that over the summer, but, like, people are swimming in the Kennebec River. Stuff I never thought I'd see.
Yeah, I honestly, growing up, I was told not to.
Yeah, right? No, exactly. It's like, hey, the mills really polluted the shit out of the river. Don't go swim in there. It's like, ooh.
Yeah.
But now people are, like, swimming, fishing, and...
Yeah, I brought that up when that was happening. I said, I thought we weren't supposed to swim in the Kennebec River.
And they were like, nope, it's
No,
cool
it's
now.
fine.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
All right, let's do it.
Wow.
And it's just like, I mean, like, to compare then to now, it's like downtown used to smell like dead fish. Like, it was just like so bad. Any of the downtowns you really couldn't enjoy. And now they're like, everybody's like downtown, which is great.
Yeah, and Augusta's downtown is booming. I really think, honestly, Cushnock has a lot to do with that.
Oh, yeah, of course it does.
Brought a lot of people in to downtown, and then they were like, okay, you know what? And then a few more.
Kind of encouraged them to stay downtown.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the next big thing for downtown, once the Colonial Theater gets finished, or gets for a little bit further along, and also the other thing I think they have to do down there, to be honest with you, Rory, is a hotel or some type of place to stay.
Wow. I never even really thought about that.
I'm thinking about, I work up in the Winslow Waterville area, and I've seen what they've done with their downtown.
That new hotel at the end.
Well,
what is
that's
that called?
The Lockwood, I believe.
The Lockwood,
Lockwood Hotel, something along those lines. And it's really unique because, you can eat, play, and stay right in the area. And that, it's like with Augusta, I mean, you kind of have to stay on the outskirts of downtown and make your way downtown.
Exactly.
So making it an all-in-one destination might give them a leg up, or might really transform the area too.
Right.
I mean, once you have that theater, though, I mean, you can have stand-up comedians, you can have small bands, or like up-and-coming acts, indie acts, which I'm sure would do really good in areas like this. People come up from Portland, people come, college kids come down from Waterville.
Right.
It could really work out.
Well, back when I was in high school, there was a few smaller venues in Augusta that a lot of that was when the punk phase was really happening, the emo phase and stuff.
Well, I mean, that stuff, having venues for that stuff's important too. I got a lot of friends
but I
that
was
are part
saying
of that scene.
They really pushed that scene quite a bit. And, it would be great to have places for anybody to perform. It's hard sometimes to get an audience at, because I know they do a lot of open mics. And sometimes smaller restaurants will hey, we're doing a comedy night here, but it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
speaking as someone who's done comedy before, stand up, the audience is super important.
Oh yeah, I mean having people there to laugh at the jokes or like pay the tickets to open the doors and whatever. Oh yeah, no, most definitely. And I guess it's like some aspects of build it, they will come, and some aspects of just needing to have the people here to go to things too at the same time. And that's why I was like looking at events that, I mean, because if you look at Augusta and it's like makeup too at the same time, a huge part of it are people that come in from like Chelsea and come in from like all the other towns around too. So you have to play into that as well. And it'd be cool to like, I don't know, get a music festival or something like a little bit bigger up here. Like the Iron Man Challenge was cool and all, but like, I mean, not that we've turned all the fields into solar farms or anything yet, but like, rent out somebody's field or, bring back the whatever, something that makes Augusta special, really stand out. Not that it isn't already, but,
Central Maine does kind of get skipped over
yeah,
sometimes.
Right. That's
it's
what
like
I'm saying.
Southern Maine, and they're like, well, we got to get up north a little bit.
Right.
So they
and actually talking about this at work with some of the guys this week, it was, like concerts even, right? Mm-hmm. Portland, Bangor. They skip over us
a lot.
completely. Like, it's like, not that we don't have the Civic Center, not that we don't have a space.
Yeah, but we rarely get a good
act.
Yeah.
Like they had Trace Adkins and they had they're going to be having Tracy Boyd, which are big country acts. But like, and don't get me wrong, you got to read the room and know your audience too. It's
they're
like,
going to sell.
Like, right? Like we're not going to have like, I don't know, like Kodak Black's not coming up to the Augusta Civic Center or something like that.
Right, but he will for some reason go up to Bangor.
Right, exactly.
Right, yeah.
Which is further north and
yeah.
But anyway, regardless, it's just one of those things. We get kind of, that's like I like your point though. We do get kind of skipped over.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I want that to stop.
And I've heard acts that have went up to Bangor be like, "Yo, we just kept driving.
Yeah.
We just kept going." And I was like, they're like, they probably would like to stop in Central Maine too.
I'm sure they would. Yeah. I mean,
people
like
come down.
I mean, it's just again like having like the river as a backdrop and everything like that. It's the heart and soul of the region, and it's just there's a lot we can do with it. A lot this area can do, and it's like the money can be found. You just got to bring in some businesses and other stuff like that to help things along. It's a balance.
Yeah, I've had friends from out of state come up and visit and be like, "This is the capital."
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah,
it is.
It is.
Yeah,
yep.
it is.
Yeah, but like at the same time, there is a lot of room for growth, which we're seeing now.
Exactly.
Which is really unique. And so, what would you say? I guess is like the best part of the Augusta community, and also like the worst part of the Augusta community, as someone who lived outside and now kind of chose to live here in certain aspects.
Well, as coming from somebody who lived in like such a small town like Pittston, where there's a community, but not really.
Yeah.
Where you're living a little bit closer together, it's like more of like a not forced community, but it is. You're interacting with people more often.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's more accessible to do things, maybe sometimes to a detriment, like with food.
Yep.
Say when you lived in Pittston, you wanted to make something to eat, you made something to eat. Now you live in Augusta, something so close, run and grab something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's different things.
Or on the flip side, when I used to live in Farmingdale, right? Like you go to the grocery store, you're either going to drive 15 minutes to Gardner or 15 minutes to Augusta, and so like your shopping trip turns into like a half an hour. We're in it like being in Augusta now. I'm 5 minutes away from Hannaford, and or even like McDonald's or something. Like like it is. That's dangerous, right?
Yeah. I'm so close to Hannaford, I could walk. I could walk and get groceries, and I have.
Yeah.
So there's definitely benefits to it.
Yeah.
For sure, and more stuff for my children to do.
Yes,
like as a child when I was younger.
Yeah.
I rode my bike a lot everywhere, and like went to places, but it was like a distance between everywhere. And if I went to a friend's house, I was riding my bike a couple miles to get to a friend's house, and there was no real place where we could all
congregate.
Gather.
Yeah.
Well, we had the Pittston Fairgrounds, which is what we actually chose as a thing. Which is we used to joke around like that's Pittston's downtown, like because all the kids would gather to the downtown area, which was pretty much the fairgrounds.
That's a fun time, man. That's still unique, though. I mean, like, if you don't have something, find something and claim it as your own. Kind of, sort of. That's special, though. At the same time, it's like if you don't have your community, you build your own. And in certain aspects.
For sure. And I still think back to the memories of. I'm not really close with any of those kids from Pittston. Yeah. But like when we were younger, we had that group, and I still have really fond memories of growing up with them and hanging out there. And
of course.
We turned it into a little mini skate park and all that.
Way.
Yeah, we had a bunch of fun.
Doing fun shit. Yeah, that's awesome, and that's special in a lot of ways. Especially like even if we don't continue to associate with folks from that time, regardless of how like life ends up playing out. It's cool that we can look back fondly on certain things like that and just be like, hey. Yo, that was good. That was really good, actually.
Those are the times where I feel like, as somebody who's getting I'm like saying like I'm really old.
Right.
33, 34.
Right.
I do tend to look back now that my kids are at that age.
Yeah.
Of being, like my daughter's a junior in high school. So I tend to
Wow.
like a lot of times
Yeah.
I put in focus.
Yeah.
What was I doing at that age?
Right,
You know what I mean?
right,
So
right.
I am thinking back a lot more. So I
Yeah,
find
yeah.
myself being more nostalgic sometimes to like the detriment of my like mental well-being. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh wow, like
Yep.
I'm old.
Yeah. Oh,
you know?
well, I just released an episode this last episode. Turning 26 is kind of a weird age because, like, as I've talked to you before, like you're no longer on like if you're dependent on somebody's insurance,
Yeah.
you can't do that if you're somebody, if you're a kid or whatever. And it's just kind of like you're at basically they've pulled out the last like I guess safety net in a certain way. Like
Yeah.
you were fully on your own now as far as we're concerned. That's kind of how I really felt in certain ways. And again, I don't make it sound like I'm a million years old, and that's not what I was trying to do with that episode either. But
Right.
it's just like this is where I'm at now. I'm reflecting back on like it, to detriment or to my own well-being.
Yeah.
Just like this is where I'm at. This is where things are.
Right.
And which I think is important too at the same time.
And there are like in your life, I mean, 25, 26, that's a landmark.
Yeah.
That's a chunk
You're
of your
4 or
life.
5 years to 30. Like
yeah, you've lived a lot of your life, so you have to like kind of reflect back on that.
Mhm.
I think it's healthy, honestly.
I thought so too. I was actually messaging with one of my buddies that I went to college with, and he goes, "That was a really cool, different type episode because you like journaled and chronicled like kind of your life and like where you're
Right.
at." And he goes, "Did that feel good?" And I'm like, honestly, it felt incredibly therapeutic to just like say, "Hey, like."
I bet. Was
this-
that hard for you to do the solo episode?
Not too bad. Not really too bad. I just kind of put my ideas together on, on my phone or on a piece of paper, and I just kind of run through things and
Yeah.
mix in a little bit of like current events, like what I'm doing. Like I was telling you, I DJ'd my buddy's wedding, and so I
Yeah.
talked about that a little bit, which, was really fun, and I'd love to keep doing it in,
Right.
some capacity, and, but at the same time, just, like, looking at the, kind of as you do in certain aspects, kind of looking at the world and the way it is, and just
Yeah.
kind of going like, hey, this is my thoughts here, like, this is what's going on,
Right, because I've actually thought about doing that with my podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
Because ideally the idea of the podcast was to gather people,
Yeah.
have more comedic discussions of
Yes,
things,
yeah.
kind of take a lighter tone
Yeah, yeah.
on a dark world that we kind of live in sometimes.
Yeah, you
So-
got to. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's the levity.
And like, so, yeah, I thought it was important to like have people always there, but I was like, obviously, sometimes it's not the easiest to gather.
People are
multiple
busy.
People.
Yeah, oh,
people
yeah.
are busy, especially like certain times of the year.
Yep.
So I've had times where I was like, maybe I could do like a solo episode, but I'm wondering how the comedy plays through with, if it would.
You
got
got to just crack jokes to yourself.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
like that's tough.
Which I-
Sometimes they're hit or miss. Or like
Yeah.
I'll be like, you just like ask your friends like, hey, like, did that hit well? No, oh yeah, no, that was funny.
Yeah.
Or like, oh no, actually, like if I feel like if I ever sounded like really insane, they'd be like, hey, like, you good?
I've
Like-
been called out. I've totally
Yeah,
been called
yeah.
out by my friends before on my podcast.
That's
So
awesome.
like I was
Like,
listening to the podcast. Man, what was up with that?
yeah, what was going on? Yeah, no, it's like I haven't had one of those quite yet, but it was just like, if I know if I like I have a good enough, group of friends and, some core listeners that
Yeah.
they'd be like, hey, like that didn't hit
That one
well
didn't
at
hit.
all.
Yeah, Yeah, that's something that I've been on my hiatus right now. I do seasons.
Yeah.
So like,
which that's one thing that's kind of different from you and I, which
Yeah.
is, as we've talked about,
yeah,
things, it's just like, you do seasons. I'm just kind of run it year round. And if I'm
Yes.
too busy, we take a week or a month off.
Right.
And it's just different scheduling, which,
yeah.
how
I've
does the
always taken.
seasons, like, how long do you run a season for?
It's actually been varying time frames.
Yep.
Basically, it's whenever I felt like it's need to be refreshed.
Yep.
Like I've needed to step back and analyze. Maybe I'll look over some of the old episodes and see
Yeah,
what
you're like,
hits.
it's kind of
ask some
stale, or
friends.
like, I need to adjust things here.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's,
And one thing that I've been really trying to focus on is streamlining the episode and being more respectful of my listeners' time.
yeah.
Because I've put out podcasts that have been hours long,
Yeah.
multiple hours long.
Yeah.
Which is great for when you get people around and they can naturally talk for that long.
Yeah.
And it hits. And
Yep.
if you listen to the whole thing, it's hilarious. There's good content. But a lot of people want to listen to like a podcast. We have to like know the listeners.
Yeah.
They're listening on their way to work. They're
Yep.
way home from work. Sometimes they don't want to listen to a podcast in 18 different parts. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Right.
So I've been trying to streamline, like stay at the hour mark.
Yep.
And then find the segments.
That's
Because I have
usu-
some recurring segments.
Yep.
I want to find the ones that really hit and
Yeah.
try to stay with those. So
Yeah.
people know when they're listening to the podcast, oh, we're going to get, the normal breakthrough where everyone talks about their,
Yeah.
a little bit of time. And then we got the news. That's
Yep.
usually that's where a lot of the comedy comes out. Because we
Yeah,
try
yeah.
to find some news that's not really political.
Right.
It's more like, what? How did that happen?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
type of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. No, yeah. Like I like that. I dig that a lot. And that's why I like listening to, and that's why I kind of like what we do, because we do things a little bit differently. I'm definitely much more. There's some lightness to my podcast, but it's definitely
Right.
much more serious and like a like an
Exactly.
interview sense. And that's really like what I've always really enjoyed doing, is like really just getting to know people and telling the stories of people who you may not end up ever hearing their story about too at the same time.
Exactly.
So that's like a big thing. As like I've always been a big student of history and like a chronicler, and always like retelling stories in the oral sense rather. And it's just like a good spot to like record all this like stuff. And that's why I love
Yeah.
the podcast medium. It's great. It really is great.
No, that's the one thing I've said. I said, even if nothing ever comes of my podcast,
Yeah.
the fact that I can go back and listen to these conversations with some of my friends that, maybe in the future aren't even around anymore.
Yeah.
And have these
Right.
opportunity to like listen to that. Maybe if I'm gone, my kids want to hear me.
Yeah.
Random
see,
things like that you never really think of.
See, that's crazy you say that, because one of my like, not it's gonna get a little personal for me. One of my biggest regrets is not being able to like hear a grandparent's voice. Like when you were a kid, like it's like you have to go back and find like that home video where they're like talking. It's like I know
Yeah.
that's a really weird thing to focus on.
No,
But that's something that
it's-
I've been like kicking around in my head, and that's you just said that, and that's where my brain
Yeah.
instantly went. It was just like yeah, being able to hear. So I mean like. Ever having, I've had like my mentors on here and
Mhm.
other people, and plan to have other people that are admittedly older, in their 60s and 70s, and like I mean, as life is, we're not all going to be here forever,
Right.
unfortunately. And so like the chronicling the aspect of that, can't talk today, buddy.
Yeah.
The chronicling aspect of that, though, that's unique, and I didn't even really think about it as heavily as that until you just said that.
Yeah, I mean, even just a couple days ago, my mother mentioned something about a family member, just like health wise,
Yep.
getting older, and it clicked in my head. I was like, I wish there was a way where I could incorporate, make it natural to
Yeah.
have them on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But where they're like older and like the style, I don't even know if they've ever know what a podcast
Yeah,
is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did the same type of thing actually. I've had both of my parents on as guests.
How was that?
It was good. I really enjoyed it. It was really special and something I really look fondly back on, because to be honest with you, I didn't come up with the idea. I borrowed it from, as all great ideas are borrowed.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching. I like Duncan Trussell a lot, the comedian, and
Yeah.
his podcast.
Yeah.
And he has the show, The Midnight Gospel,
Mhm.
on Netflix, and he did an episode with his mom, who at the time unfortunately had cancer. And that thing, like that just crippled my heart. Like
Right.
it was just like I was like, that's a fantastic idea. And it's like, regardless, I mean, my parents are in good health and everything like that,
Right.
thank God. But it was just, I need to sit down and talk with like those who put me on the earth,
Right.
and like hear their perspective, and at least have that. And part of it was for my listeners, but a huge part of that was also just kind of for me too. To be
No.
honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times you don't actually have those types of conversations with your parents.
No.
You ask them kind of like,
I mean,
Like-
I've asked them, like, hey, Dad, what was it like growing up in the 70s or the 60s, and like, yeah, we'll touch on a few things, but like, like specifically, hey, Dad, or hey, Mom, who are your musical influences? Or like, who are your blah, blah, blah? Like,
Right.
who was the person that set you forward on the path you're on today? And then
Right.
that turns into a 15-minute conversation that you never would have really had unless you sat down and, again, in this medium.
right, the forced conversation can be good, I feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
Because
right,
you're like,
right.
what can we talk about?
It's the right type of forced conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Which is cool because, like, again, like you just said, I don't think I'd ever have some of those conversations with my parents before, or with
Right.
even friends.
Yeah,
like
sometimes
I've had
it's
on the
awkward to
podcast.
just
Yeah,
ask
just
that kind
hey,
of question.
hey. So, what do you think about this? It's
Yeah.
like, where's this coming from? Like,
Right.
what's
But a lot of the
what's
times
wrong with you? No,
People would like to voice their opinion.
Right, that's
So-
true too, and they're not always, given the opportunity to do that, and like we are, luckily. And so you host the podcast just to, in case people missed it in the beginning. That's the world we're living in.
Yes.
And so, first off, where can people find you?
So available on all audio platforms.
Yep.
So Spotify, Google, Apple, Anchor.
Yep.
Pretty much any of those that you can get.
Streaming audio podcast.
Streaming audio
Yep.
podcasts, any of those feeds.
Yep.
Currently working. Actually, I have a friend coming over later today to try to help me work out the video aspect.
Nice. See, I'm in the same boat here as
Yeah.
well with that too. Yep.
So that would be, I think that would be interesting. And a big thing that I've wanted to do with the original idea behind the podcast before I even made it a podcast was it was going to be a sketch comedy show.
Okay. Yeah,
Because-
I dig that.
Yeah, because I've always been into comedy and I've written sketches before,
Yeah.
even filmed some,
Yeah.
but never collected them. And I have a lot of friends that do the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a friend who went to film school,
No
Like,
shit. Yeah.
and since we were kids, we've
Yeah.
been making these like comedy sketches and like
Yeah.
little videos and stuff like that. So that was originally going to be the idea,
Yep.
but the pandemic happened,
Yep.
and
That life happened. Right. Yeah.
'cause that's when it started too.
Yep. Yep.
I had the idea prior to, but after being isolated for so long, I was like, okay, we got to figure out some way to do this.
Yeah,
Like, I got to
yep.
start talking to people.
Yep.
So as soon as things
same
opened
boat.
up
Yep.
a little bit, we did all like the precautions and everything, but had started having the podcast.
Yep.
And it was super healthy for I think everyone involved.
Oh,
to be
most
honest.
definitely. Oh, yeah.
And it was just audio, but it was just good to get out to just tell stories. Like
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of the
yeah.
times our friends we had these stories from back when we were in high school or whatever, and just never had a chance to like get them out to people, and some of them are
Right,
just
yeah, yeah.
hilarious, you know.
Oh,
just-
same here. Like, in between high school, college, and just everyday life, there are some stories that you're just like, wow, I need to share that with somebody because it's just hilarious. Or
Yeah.
you won't believe this.
Yeah, and I've had friends reach out, or like people I went to high school with that were like, "Hey, I listened to that podcast, and I can't believe you've told that story." Like I
right.
remember that now, and I had completely forgotten about
Yep,
it. But
yep.
like, thank you, type of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Thank you. Like, I look back on that fondly, and it's just like, yeah, like it's what I'm here for.
Right.
Happy to, really kind of, happy to do it in a lot of ways. And so you started, like right with the pandemic, a lot of ways like I did. I had the idea, after coming off of the presidential campaign and having some time to think for myself, and like have some time, not working. I was like, I really think I need to, put something out in some capacity. And I've always like, I wouldn't call myself, like a Joe Rogan bro, but like I was a pretty like big fan of Joe Rogan early on before
Yeah,
he like
no.
signed over to Spotify and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And like I always really dug the whole, I like when I got out of the campaign life, before, the world shut down, I was getting ready to, take a little vacation, fly out to California and just go to LA for, 3 or 4 days and go sit in the Comedy Store for a couple nights and just like listen to just
That
some of
would've
the
been-
best stand up, like, and I've always wanted to do, try stand up and do
Yeah.
different things like that. And I guess that kind of comes with the personality that you and I type of have.
Right.
Like, it's just like, it's ever flowing, and it's like it's very creative in a lot of aspects too. I mean, I play music and do all that type of stuff too, so it's like, yeah,
Entertaining.
okay, it's just like I've always enjoyed. Yeah, exactly. It's like I've always kind of felt like I've enjoyed entertaining people,
Right.
whether that be on stage or whatever. It's like get a lot of personal enjoyment out of that
Right.
too, which
Yeah,
the podcast allows as well. It is at the end of the day we're just trying to entertain.
exactly. And I feel like that's something like as a child, when you're younger,
Yeah.
and you entertain people, you kind of get like a reaction from people, and
Yeah.
you enjoy
yeah.
that.
Most definitely.
And I definitely, as a child, I was an entertainer.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then as you get a
Oh.
little bit older, I feel like sometimes you get a little bit, I don't know, like nervous about it. You
yeah.
kind of feel
or
like
well, like when you're a kid, and see that's what I love about kids. They don't give a fuck.
they don't care.
They
No.
don't care.
So
It's
y-
like there's no shame, there's no fear. They're just
Right.
like I can remember literally as a kid getting up on like we had a family reunion or something and
Yeah.
we had this little like step. I hopped on the step with like this little like like the little guitars that you
Yeah.
could like sing through and like played like
Yeah,
pre-recorded
yeah.
stuff. I was up there with like a cowboy hat on and like I was like 5,
Right.
4 or 5, and it's just like nowadays probably still would do that, but
Yeah,
like I would
exactly.
think I would be like ooh, like or
Yeah.
whatever. But then like you look at like some of these adults like this guy out in New York City like the naked cowboy. He's standing
Still
there in
in
Times
Times
Square
Square, yeah.
in a diaper or like in like his underwear with a guitar and
Yeah.
a cowboy hat. It's like the shame or the fear is just
Right. Yeah. I mean,
non-existent for
it
for
took me a
some.
while to like realize that that's just the type of person I am.
Yeah,
I like.
right,
I
yeah.
I shouldn't feel ashamed for liking to entertain people.
No,
for
God,
making
no.
wanting to make people feel happy or
Right,
laugh
yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that.
Or
It's-
like enjoy like
right.
the world, right?
And I've
yeah,
had
yeah.
people tell me, like, at workplaces before, after I've gotten done at workplaces,
Yeah, yeah.
they've reached out to me and been like, hey, just so you know, like, you made work fun.
You made like
Not
coming
that
to work
you were
worth it. Yeah,
you
yeah,
were
yeah.
working,
Yeah,
but
right.
you made work fun.
Right, just you being your persona being on the job, being
Right.
at this job has improved
'Cause
things. So thank you.
Yeah.
like keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like that's special and that's unique. I've got a couple folks like that I work with, and it's just like I'm glad I work with you
Yeah.
because like it's just man, you make coming to work a little bit better.
Yeah, because
it's
nobody
like, yeah.
wants to be stressed at work.
No,
and nobody
fuck
wants
no.
to be in
No,
an
no, no, no.
environment where you can feel the bad vibes. You know? So
No.
I
No,
always
no.
try to kind of shed a little bit of light and positivity.
yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, shed a little light. I mean, actually, Sturgill Simpson, great psychedelic country
Yeah.
artist, has a song, "Let a Little Light In." Yeah, you got to, and it's like not even in like the traditional like gospel religious sense, but in the sense of just just bringing a little bit of levity and humor and just lightness to, like, as you said, the very serious, you know, and kind of dark world, because it isn't, and not to be like a gloomy dude, but it is a dark world. Like, at the end of the day, if you take the world at face value and you think it's sunshine and rainbows, like, we got to talk. Because, like,
there's a lot.
There's like war, famine, and destruction, you know, like, it's like,
But I do try to look at the positives.
But, exactly. But then that's what you got to do, right? Like, it's like, if you just, you know, did nothing but, you know, watch 24-hour news, you'd be a miserable shell of a human, you know? But, like, if you take some of, like, the, you know, the cool and weird stuff and just, like, enjoy life for what life is, and, like, what I think that's cool about, like, what you do on your medium with your podcast is just, like, looking at something that's like, oh, like, that's weird or wild, or, like, how did that happen? It's like, I'd rather take a moment to talk about, like, the, you know, like, the flaming tornadoes they had during, like, the fires out in, like, Nevada or something, versus, like, you know, like, oh, like, don't get me wrong, we still got to talk about Ukraine or whatever, or COVID or whatever, but, like, let's talk about, like, some weird, like, weather or something that happened in the world.
That's why I respect your format.
Yeah,
you know, it's like a completely different style, and it's more structured, and, like, where I'll be honest, my podcast is very silly.
Yeah,
it's,
I
like,
mean, but
meant
we need that, though.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
levity
like,
is meant to be there.
Yeah.
Like, so
it's built in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's built in levity.
Yeah.
Which I dig. You know, it's just. When do you think you're going to be starting back up? When's the?
I've
do you
actually
have a date?
started recruiting people for the next season.
Yeah,
like finally getting guests going, which
Yep.
I'll probably talk to you about trying to get you on there too
appreciate
in
that.
the future. But I'm hoping not this weekend because he's coming over to kind of fix up everything.
Yep.
But I've already scheduled one for next weekend, so
Nice.
hoping
So-
that will go. So
Yep.
usually how I record is weekend, Saturday or Sunday,
Yep.
based on
Yeah, because you're a busy guy. I mean, you're a dad. You work a full-time job. You ref. You do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I
so-
do a bunch of stuff. I don't ref.
Oh, you don't.
I don't ref.
Oh,
No,
okay, you don't ref.
I've done like a little bit of like coaching.
Okay, coaching.
But I've
Sorry.
not-
Yep.
Reffing is something that a lot of my family members are trying to make me do. I think
Okay,
maybe
all
I've
right,
talked
all
to you
right.
about that.
I think maybe that's where I got that, because
They-
I had that idea in the back of my head somewhere. You're probably like, "What the fuck is this kid talking about?"
No, I thought I told you because I've been told that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you.
Well,
need
you
to
just
start
kind of
reffing.
have that. Maybe it's the mustache. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just like I feel like you could be like a great basketball ref.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
I
just-
mean, in my mind, when I'm watching my daughter's games, I definitely
You
feel
are
like
a
I
great
can.
ref.
Yeah. Which I've definitely been spoken. That's something
Yeah.
I've, as an adult.
Yes.
Well, I had kids when I was young.
Yeah.
So like, they've watched me kind of grow up a little bit too. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's something like when they were younger, I feel like I was more free spirited with,
Yeah.
you know, saying stuff.
Yeah.
I would yell out to the ref. That's
Yeah.
now I'm way more. I'm like, wow, what? Like thinking back even a few years.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Ooh, why would I?
Tone it down,
yeah,
Roy.
chill
Like
out,
this guy's
guy.
just
Yeah.
trying to make a living. He's helping out the community here, reffing these games
Right.
for youth things.
Youth sports, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And see, I'm the same way sometimes. Not to get too far off down the rabbit hole with yelling at people, but I coach too. And
Yeah,
like,
and you know
I
what
coach,
it's like.
I coach the Coney boys soccer team, and it's just like, man, like I've yelled at the refs before, and like I have to stop myself because I know that there aren't a lot of refs out there,
Yeah.
and they're all old. There's like,
Yeah.
and like, or a few of them aren't, or like a few of them, like, funny enough, a lot of them are like people who like coached in like the community, or like I played with their kids, and they're like, oh hey, what's going on, Dumont? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I can't yell at you. I can't
yell at
like,
you.
it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, and I always wanted to be like, when I looked at some of the teams that I played against when I was in high school, and some of those coaches are still around, and they were dicks. Like, to just call it out for what it was.
Yeah.
Like the things they said to the refs, like the things they said to the parents of the other team, just disrespectful. And it's like, I never wanted to be that coach. I always wanted to be better than that.
No.
And I always tried to strive to be better than that. But there's sometimes it's just like a call is so stupid that you're like,
That's
no.
one of the things that I had to look at not even
Yeah.
as a coach, but
Yeah.
as a parent.
Right, yeah, and it's
When you yell
double
out
tough, right?
afterwards,
Yeah.
after a game, you're like, why did I? Like, how? Like,
Right.
not that I've ever done anything that would like embarrass my kids or whatever, but like,
You're not like Randy Marsh, like
no,
beating up
but
people
I've,
at, like,
I've witnessed, I've witnessed other kids' parents
Yeah.
doing stuff to the point where I was like, wow,
Whoa.
like, is that how I would look if
I did
I did that, or is that what I
yeah.
looked like when I said something? You know what I mean? So it's like,
That's embarrassing. Wow,
yeah, wow, I don't want to be
I
that
don't
guy.
wanna be
So
that
I've,
guy, yeah.
I've become now. I'm just the silent. When something's bad, I just do the head shake.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's like kind of what you have to do, like, and that's like I guess that's a maturity thing that comes with age too. Like, it's like I grew up as an only child and like hung out with a lot of adults, so I
Yeah.
like mimicked a lot of adult behavior, and so like, but that doesn't always mean that you're mature if you
Yeah,
know,
but you
mimic
definitely
learned behavior.
you
but
expose a little bit more maturity than somebody your age. I feel
Right,
like
and
normally.
that's kind of the vibe I've always kind of gotten. Like when I was a freshman, I was hanging out, in high school. I was hanging out with like seniors by the end of the year.
Right.
It's like I was hanging out with the older guy, the older folks, because it was
Yeah.
just like I don't know, like kind of some of the things folks my age are doing. It's kind of childish in certain
Yeah.
aspects. It's like not to say that I didn't like I fool around, from time to time though. It's like I like to have a good time. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I'm not like the serious guy all the time by
Right.
any means. I mean, you know me well enough
Yeah,
to
yeah,
know
definitely.
that, but it's like I don't know, there's like a time like I just feel like there's really those times to be serious, and I know this is kind of cliche, but there's times to really be serious, and like but I think that the majority of the time we can be light with each other. We don't have
Yeah.
I think the majority of the time like we get real serious, and it's just like no, I think if we all just took a step back a minute and just breathed and listen to maybe one of our podcasts.
Yeah.
Take a step back and just go, it ain't so bad at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is kind of cool with this platform is like also trying to tell tales of hope too. Like, we can I'll gloom and doom from time to time, but also just trying to, tell those like very hopeful tales or like inspiring tales, because it's
Right.
like, I've gone through some stuff. I mean, I'm sure you've gone through some stuff, and we
Yeah.
try to share what we've learned,
Right.
with the people occasionally from time to time that, even if it's maybe not, it's just like you tell a story, it's like, oh wow, like they've gone through that too.
Right.
Maybe it's not even like you're trying to be a true teaching moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even my podcast that is based in humor and it is like comedy based. We've had multiple episodes where things have gotten serious.
Yeah,
where,
it gets
like,
real quick, right?
Yeah, whether it's like a topic that like, which is when I first started the podcast, I said no politics, no like debating about things.
It always sneaks in.
It
though,
will
doesn't
sneak in
it?
there every once in a while, and every once in a while something's like important that you want to discuss.
Yeah.
We've had, I've had a close friend that committed suicide, and that's something that we had to.
You just have to
deal
address
with.
it.
Yeah, we had to address
You just
it,
have to address it. I get that.
Yeah, and it's like something you don't want to overlook, and you have a platform, so say something. What I mean?
I'm in the same boat there, and it's like. With my past, being a former political operative, it's hard to not get too political sometimes.
Right.
And I have to remember at the end of the day, like, no, I am not in office, and no, I am not working in that field anymore. So
Right, yeah.
sometimes I should just leave it alone. But there are other times, like a lot of the stuff that's been going on recently, it's just like, man, I can't not say anything. Because it's like I have a platform and I do need to address.
And you
these
do have a
problems.
passion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
That's the thing at the end of the day too.
Yeah.
It's like I can't ignore it.
Right.
It's like, man, but I don't want that to be like the forefront of everything. Because I think at the same time, where it does sneak in, as I said, it sneaks into everything. It's like even like little stupid bullshit things that used to just be little stupid and bullshit are now inherently political, and that disgusts me in a lot of ways too.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, how about we just get along and just leave it alone?
Right.
It's like anything from like like little league baseball to like whatever. It's like, oh, now it's inherently political. It's like, no, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Folks. I don't
Yeah,
know. That's one thing I've seen recently. It's everything. Everything's political.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Everything can be turned into
a political situation. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, that's because like you follow this orange person or you followed this
Yeah.
female or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, whoa. No,
Yeah.
how about we don't like whatever political letter you hold next to your name? Why
Right.
don't we put an H for human or for A for American
Yeah,
or something? Like we're all kind of
Right.
in the same boat, guys. Like chill out.
And
you
as
know?
somebody who's not heavily into politics
Yeah.
and doesn't like project what
right,
my
right,
thoughts
right,
on
right,
something,
right.
I find it weird now how social media pushes. Like now, I know what everyone else thinks.
Oh,
I
goddamn
know
right you
who's
do.
a Democrat. I know who's a
Simple.
Republican
Oh,
on
yeah.
my
On your
Facebook
feeds.
feed.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can tell. I know who's who.
Yeah.
But beforehand, so that and I know how to like kind of judge people based not just on their political
views.
opinions.
And
Yeah.
I see, don't get me wrong, like, I think political views play a certain. I guess for me, it's a thermometer of what you're cool with.
Yeah, no,
Politically.
for sure.
It's like, you're like, yeah, I'm this. It's like, but you're cool with, like, them locking kids in cages. You're cool with, I'm just using that as an
Yeah,
example
no,
because
no,
that's
I hear
really extreme. Or
Yeah.
you're cool with, blah, 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 blah. You're cool with banning a certain type
Yeah.
of person. It's like,
Oh.
oh.
No, you do.
Oh.
You start
You
to
know,
think you're
like, and that's like,
"Whoa, what?"
but that hasn't come till recently because, like, I don't know if we were talking about things as blatantly and as straight faced politically in this country, like, until the last 6-ish
Yeah.
years ago. Because, like, don't get me wrong, like, we talked about deporting people, like, like illegal immigrants and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Not to
yeah.
get, like, specifically on that issue, but it was just like, but I don't think we focused on it, like, and saw, like, the facilities. And, like, don't get me wrong, all
No.
those things were happening, but it was
Yeah.
just like,
Now it's in your face.
I think a lot of the time, and that's exactly it. I think a lot of the times, more recently in the last 6 years, regardless of if because of the occupant of the Oval Office or because of just the flux that we're in, I feel the curtain has been pulled back on a lot of things, like whether that wasn't directly reported on it before or whatever. It's just like, I think a lot more people are seeing like, wow, this is the really ugly side of all this.
Yeah.
I
think it's harder to hide anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of getting at. It's just harder to like hide things or sweep it under the rug in a lot of capacities. Like,
and even if it's been swept under the rug, people will pull the rug up.
Yeah,
and
Reddit. Literally Reddit. Like people go on the internet and they'll pull that rug up themselves.
Yeah,
Reddit.
The
internet's crazy.
Yeah.
It really is. I love Reddit personally.
I do too. It's probably one of my favorite.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's toxic and not.
Yeah, right. Well, that's anything. That's the internet, though. The internet is good and bad.
Yeah.
All the new things we create have that good and bad, function to it, which is good. As I said, which is good and bad.
Once anything gets too big, it's gonna
have negatives, right? Well, that's like when I asked you earlier, like, what is the good and bad of living in your community? It's like, well, yeah, everything's convenient, but at the same time, everything's convenient.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure.
Well, that's where I think that moderation and balance come in, and I think that's what a lot of people lack in their life, myself included.
Oh yeah,
I could be a lot better at balancing and moderating my life. And I always had a great mentor say, never bite off more than you can chew, and unfortunately, you literally do that all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm a list guy, and I'll make a list and like. I'll be like, oh, yeah. As I'm making the list, I'm like, am I even going to potentially get to this today? Like,
maybe not today, but tomorrow. Yeah, no, that's why I have the list there. The list doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't. Sometimes you write a few things on the list you've already done just so you can check it. I already started a few of these things.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's like I had a conversation with a coworker one time. He was like, oh, I hate having to-do lists. And I'm like, why, man? Like, then you know how much closer you are to being done, and also you don't forget the shit you need to do. He goes, well, like, I feel like it's just like looking over my shoulder. I'm like, well, only if you procrastinate terribly. Yeah,
right.
Of course.
I've been there, though.
Oh, yeah,
where I've been like, oh, this list is getting quite large.
It's getting quite large. Yeah, I need to get on that, which is real funny. But so day to day, what do you do for? What are you doing for work these days?
So I am. Well, let's see. I'm team leader.
Yes.
At Hive Medicinal.
Okay.
/ Shop Chronic.
Right.
So,
I figured I'd just let you explain that. It'd be easier.
Yeah.
Because I'd fumble the football.
I'm a jack of many trades, master of none.
Yeah. Yep.
So
you're the guy. In a lot of ways.
I do. I do a little bit there. I Shop Chronic. I'm technically the manager of. I do all the ordering for that. I run the online website
which is the
as
head
well.
shop.
It's the head shop that's both online and in the physical locations.
Yep.
So that's fun. It's something when I was younger when we would have like places like Cosmic Charlie's, which is gone and stuff like that. Like
I remember Cosmic Charlie's.
Yeah,
I wish being a deadhead, I wish we still had Cosmic Charlie's because that was.
Sure. Yeah.
I never really got to experience that as a young adult, So.
Yeah, I've been there.
I mean, I get to go to Mexicali Blues, which is like, but it's not like Cosmic Charlie's.
Yeah, no, and they don't really dive too much into the music at Mexicali Blues, do they? It's more of just like lifestyle
and
type
lifestyle
thing.
stuff, which I wish they did because it'd be easy enough for them to do.
Yeah, my wife loves that place.
Yeah, it's great.
It's like if we go by, we're stopping.
Yeah,
but it's a cool place for sure.
Yeah.
Ordering for there daily. Just you'll see me over there most of the time, but also I bud tend. I'm on Hive Medicinal quite a bit as well, so I do that. That's fun.
Yep.
The bud tending. It's cool serving the community in a way that's like
very different than any other way that anyone else could serve
and
the
in
community.
a way that growing up I was told
you're a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is. Like your parents are saying to you, that's drug dealing. Well, now it's legal and it's called bud tending.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
Like,
but I did learn the tools of the trade at a young age.
Yes.
I have some years of experience.
Yeah. Hey,
but it's cool. They don't call it a drug dealer anymore.
Yeah,
because it's all.
That's a progressive. That's progressive right there. That is change.
I've actually said that to one of my coworkers. Somebody came in and was like, "Hey, what are you doing today?" He goes, "Just selling drugs." And I go, "No, you're not. You are not. We're medical marijuana." and that's the thing is like I joke around about that stuff, but like one of the best benefits and the things I love most about my job is when I get somebody that comes in and you can tell they're using it for medical benefits.
Yes. Yep.
Somebody who's literally hurting, they come in and then the next few days they come in and you can see visibly
they're visibly
that
walking better. Or
they're
doing,
walking
yeah,
better, and
yep.
they raved you. Oh my God, thank you!
I
You
slept for the
recommended
first
this
time
stuff,
and
to me.
yeah,
And everyone thinks
yeah.
all we do is sell weed. It's
Right.
not true. We
No,
have
it's
tons.
not.
We have edibles, which some people are for and
Yep,
against, but
yep.
we have edibles. We have capsules. We have solves. We have. Not everything is there to just get you fucked up.
Yeah, right,
You know what
exactly.
I mean?
And well, that's kind of what I was, kind of tying a segue in with like the moderation piece, that I was talking about earlier. Everything in moderation and aspects can really help people,
Right.
and that's what I think is really cool about the state of Maine and the fact that we are very well. At the end of the day, we've had medical since the '90s, right? Or
Yeah.
early 2000s. Anyway, it's been around a long time, which a lot of states can't say.
Yeah, 2009, I believe,
okay.
is when they started the initial medical marijuana program.
yeah,
like
program.
the program
Yeah,
itself.
yeah,
We've
yeah.
had medical marijuana I guess
For a good long while.
for a
anyway.
while, but
yeah.
they never
regulated
put the program
as such.
into
Yeah,
effect.
you're
yeah.
right. And I think that it's so crazy that we've come so far from and this is being a student of history and also somebody that's in the political field. I hate the numbers whenever I see the amount of people that are incarcerated for
It's
weed, not medical, but weed related offenses, and it's just it's insane to see we demonize this plant back, and again it's not even, it goes beyond just even the aspects of using the THC parts of marijuana, but also hemp is just a fantastic product. Itself, just like the cannabis sativa, just like
Right.
the product that it, from ropes to it can do everything, like paper.
Yeah, and it's a very fast growing plant too.
And
So
it could literally replace the paper industry, which I think scared big tobacco, big
think
paper.
that's, isn't that the original? It was
that
banned
was my
originally
assumption.
was
Yeah. Oh, that they
tobacco
used
or
to-
alcohol or something like that.
Yeah. Well, they used to also say that it made white women want to procreate with African Americans and Hispanics. In the 1930s America, they shut that down real quick.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Yeah.
A little bit of racism too.
Yeah, propaganda. Yeah, that's
big time.
what is Reefer Madness?
Reefer Madness. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Well, and so funny enough, I watched Fab Five Freddy did a great documentary on Netflix about marijuana being in the music industry.
Oh yeah.
And he talks about early on with the jazz guys. And one of the biggest, and I talk about this with actually one of my jazz mentors when he came on, one of the biggest weed dealers in New York City in the 30s was this little Jewish oboe player named Mezzamine. And it's when the term, if you've got the mez, which was mean you had some bud.
Yeah.
You had some weed. And so he was selling to Duke Ellington and to all these people that
That's
were,
awesome.
So basically anybody who was anybody in the big band scene was also smoking pot.
Yeah.
Fun fact, most of these
And
big
created some fucking awesome music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he was getting at, is that this is a creative express. Don't get me wrong, there is there are the very heavy medical benefits to it, from anything from insomnia to
But there's
the
creative
cancers,
benefits as
but
well.
also there are a lot of creative benefits as well, and some of the biggest artists that we've ever seen are heavily influenced by marijuana and THC, which is really a lot of the musicians I mean, being a Deadhead,
Right.
marijuana very much has its
Yeah.
place in my music scene,
Right.
very heavily so, and I don't think without it would have created the same aspects. You could say that might not be true, but I truly do think that is the case though.
Right.
Certain things had an effect, whether it be acid, LSD, or shrooms, on a lot of these rock musicians from the 60s
Right.
and 70s, or in the 30s with, the jazz guys, or, eventually later on, with, different drugs in the hip hop community as well,
Yeah.
having an effect on reality, or on their reality and on their
Right.
music. So, and on the creativity too.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, music, I feel like really is a good benefactor of drugs.
Yeah.
Drugs have created some very crazy music for everyone.
Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the people. Because
Yeah,
that's
for the
really
people.
right.
Yeah, because I mean, some of the most famous bands in the world are psychedelic rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's
I mean,
it's in the name.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, literally it is. Yeah, and like I said, there is some form of altered consciousness in this situation, right? Like you said, it's literally in the name. And I think that's a good distinction though. While we're talking about marijuana or pot, whatever you want to call it, what's the difference between, for folks listening, because not everybody understands this. Between,
Yeah.
I'm sure you get it at
Oh,
work.
yeah.
What's the difference between medical and recreational marijuana?
So there's this is a funny thing actually. A lot of people will come up and say no, I want medical weed. I want medical marijuana. Well, you're not getting anything different.
No,
That's the
yeah.
thing. A lot of it has to do with price.
Yep.
A lot of it has to do with availability.
Mm-hmm.
There's different sorts of rules and regulations for the recreational program.
And how much you can get.
How much you can obtain.
Yep.
Yeah, the medical industry 2.5 ounce limit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly, I think it's per day.
Yeah, yeah.
But which is obscene. Maybe up to a certain amount per month.
per month. Yep.
Recreational use, I am not 100% sure. We're gonna be moving into the recreational field
well, I saw
very
that.
soon.
Yeah, yep.
So I'm actually doing a lot of like research and stuff on that
Yeah.
right now. That's one thing that's really rough with the medical marijuana scene is it's very vague.
Yes,
Everything's vague. The
right.
laws are not well written. They're open to interpretation. A lot of people use that to kind of skew things in their way, or you know what I mean?
Well, right, and it kind of depends on who has the bigger stick in certain situations, or who has more funding.
Right, and I mean, I know of instances for sure where we, as a business, have reached out to them and like been like, "Hey, this doesn't make sense."
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're right, it doesn't." And they're like, "Well, yeah," and then something has to change. So it's like,
right,
it's hard for like.
You guys are kind of in the wild west of like political policy,
right?
And like that's the thing. Like I didn't realize it, and I'll ask for your thoughts in a minute. When I was talking with another caregiver or dispensary owner once about the 2016 law that was passed to legalize recreational weed here in Maine, and he actually was against how it was written, and I was like,
a lot of people were,
and because well, it to be regulated exactly like alcohol, blah, blah, and he explained it, and I was like, holy shit. See, for me, and I should have been, and even I was kind of disappointed in myself being a political science student. I should have seen it for what it was. It was like, yeah, I understand why it upset some of you guys when it was written, because it's regulating, weed as like alcohol, which it is not like alcohol. It's a different, and it's like the weed industry is not like the alcohol industry. It's not like big tobacco, or it's not like
as somebody in the industry, we don't want it to be.
Right, and
we never want it to be that.
Right, and that's
the
thing, and it was like it regulate, it's kind of set up to be regulated as a big corporate entity,
right?
And I understand why that upsets a lot of people. Like I get that, I definitely get that.
What it does is like
I don't want like Walmarts of weed.
Exactly,
like,
we have a lot of family-owned businesses that have made jobs for a lot of people,
right?
And if you look at the difference between a corporate dispensary, which I'm not going to like name them,
no,
and then like the more mom and
pop,
people know. There's a genuine difference, and people that come from one to the other one, they will tell you the same thing.
Oh yeah,
it's
and that's like
night and day.
I personally I go out of my way to avoid the corporate ones, because at one time, like when I was new to the area, new to the substance in the area, you look at things and it goes, oh, like so and so does this, and it's like, oh, they have multiple locations, so you think, oh, that's success. No, it's just they're just bigger.
No, they got funding from out of the state,
and then come to find out, like a few months later, a few years go by, and then you hear on Channel 6 one morning that they've been raided.
Exactly.
And they've been growing illegally. And, there's mold, there's mites, there's basically what you're ingesting is not, and no different than how the FDA regulates, foods. You can't be pumping crap into people that are ingesting it either via, like the edible route or the smoking route.
No,
that's dangerous.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Don't be selling people moldy weed.
And then not only just the moldy weed, but people that are trying to combat that.
Yeah.
With insecticides and pesticides that are not even allowed in the state of Maine.
Yeah,
people are ordering pesticides from outside of Maine because they can't even get them here.
Right.
And spraying their plants with them.
See, that's everything that's wrong with
Yeah,
I know there are bad apples in everything, in every
right
facet of the employment world, but it's just it's kind of disappointing to see, especially when you guys I feel like you guys really pride yourselves on doing things the right way. I mean, I
small craft farmers and stuff like that are not going to do that type of stuff.
No, exactly. It's and that's what I like about a lot of the true Maine cannabis people. You know what I'm saying? They are very much they all kind of have the similar mentality. They are in with competition with each other at the end of the day, but they're about the same type of regulation for the industry. Yeah. In a lot of aspects, I feel.
Yeah, we see a lot of vendors or caregivers that come in, and we tend to deal with the ones that you can tell are here for the health.
Yeah, yeah.
That they want to provide something to help the patient.
Yeah, they care about the people that they're helping at the end of the day.
Right.
It's not just about making the buck. It's also, I'm providing a service that genuinely helps people.
Right, yeah.
I say that's definitely a huge benefit of medical marijuana in this state.
Yeah,
by far.
I think so. A lot of people use it as like we've gotten people off opiates.
Yeah,
We've
well,
gotten
that's a
people
huge
off
use. Yeah.
alcoholism.
Okay.
People that like to go out with their friends and
Yep.
maybe they have a problem with drinking.
Yep.
We have edible drinks that you can drink. You're not going to get super fucked up. You're
Yep.
going to get a nice buzz or get a feeling. So
You're going to be loosey-goosey, but
right,
you're not
your
going
mind.
to be right.
If you're going out with your friends, let's be honest, and they're all drinking, you're going to want some sort of altered mind state.
Yeah, you're going to be. Yeah, exactly.
So
Yep.
you drink a little bit of, like an edible drink or whatever, and now you're out hanging with your friends. You don't feel self-conscious about the fact that they're all getting drinks and you're not. You're making
Yep.
yourself a little cocktail and
Yep.
you're having a good
Yep.
time. Like they have
They have
plenty
your
of
drinks, you have yours, and
Yeah.
the night's a good night.
Yeah, and
What's
plenty of
wrong with
people
that?
come
Yeah,
in and
exactly.
do that. We've had people that come in weekly to
Yeah.
get their drinks for the weekend because they're
Yeah.
going out to hang out with your friends.
Yeah,
So,
no, and that's like I think that's super important to provide, like especially the avenue, and that's like a big thing I talked about when I was in school doing political science stuff. It's like one of the best things we can do to help get people off opiates is medical marijuana, is pot,
Yeah.
and like I always tell the story about when I blew up my knee, and I'm sure I've told you this story before. I blew up my knee when I had ACL surgery. They
Mhm.
tried to give me like a year's prescription of Percocets for a 2-week injury, guy. Like,
Yeah.
what?
No,
What?
I got my medical marijuana card
Yep.
back after I broke my back.
Yep.
And it was when it first happened when I was having the surgery or before I had the surgery even
Yeah.
when I was waiting to have it.
Yeah.
They were giving me so much painkillers
Yeah.
to the point where like my family's like, "Whoa, that's like nuts that they're giving you this." I'm going in, they're shooting me to like numb my lower half of my
Yeah,
body to the point where I'm like a zombie.
Right.
And I never liked that feeling. I've never
No.
been a fan of any sort of that shit. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
after like getting something done, having to take like the pills to make you feel like
You're not
in
yeah,
pain,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's like, everything's great.
But like
yeah, no.
I have been a fan of marijuana for a long time.
Right.
And it works.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. I mean that was when my mom finally was like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like
yeah.
she realized like,
I
okay, he's not I like to consider myself a functioning stoner.
Yeah,
Like
well,
somebody
that's-
who can live their life.
There are a lot of people
And-
out there like that, believe
Yeah.
it or not. Like it's like or like I think it's funny like, like you talk to the amount of people who insert the field here from education to lawyers, doctors, whatever. Like there
Yeah.
are people that are
I see it.
You know,
I've
no, most
seen
definitely.
people that
Oh, yeah.
like, yeah, I know who
You're
comes
like,
in.
oh really? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
exactly. And like again, no judgment though.
Not
And
at
I think
all.
that's the point we need to get to, and I think we're getting closer every day. It's just
Right.
like get away from the judgment of hey, like this just because somebody goes home. I'd rather honestly, I'd rather hire the guy, and no offense to people who drink.
I know exactly.
I'd rather
yeah.
you know where I'm going with this. I'd
Yeah.
rather hire the guy that goes home and smokes a joint and chills at night than
Mhm.
goes out to the bar and gets rip shit.
Yeah. No, for real.
I'll hire the functioning stoner over the
Functioning
alcoholic. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because there's both.
Yeah.
There's
oh yeah.
functioning alcoholics
no,
for sure.
Oh, most definitely there are. Yeah. Nothing. But I'll take the functioning stoner over the.
Yeah.
And
But
it's just
society doesn't really bat an eye at somebody who's an alcoholic.
right, exactly. And there's a stand. Oh, like, well, you smoke pot. Well, eventually your memories, you're just gonna forget how to do things. It's like,
Yeah.
no.
And I've had people be like, well, yeah, that's because you guys all smell. Everyone who smokes weed smells. I was
Yeah.
like, well, I've been by somebody who drinks alcohol, and I can smell it on them.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, wait for them to sweat. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that it's abrasive. I
Right.
totally understand.
I
that's-
understand it. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, I know not everybody likes it,
Right.
and that's fine. But like, don't just judge people just based off of like using just because they
Right.
use marijuana does not mean that they are automatically like that's I think the stigma that we're getting pretty close to breaking.
Yeah,
It's
I
still
think it
there in
is.
a lot of ways, but it's also I think that wall is getting chipped away every
I mean,
year,
we're
you know?
openly talking about it on a platform.
That's true.
When
and,
back
and
in
we
high
don't have to
school,
worry,
we would
like
yeah,
about,
right.
FBI,
Yeah.
we're coming in.
Yeah.
Like, ATF.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit.
I mean, back in the
DEA,
day, you'd be
yeah.
like, oh, well,
Oh,
shit,
hang
nobody's
on,
gonna
shut
hear
the
this.
windows. Yeah, like no, like
Do you
yeah.
mind not putting my name on the
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah.
like-
Anonymous
Yeah.
podcast, like
Yeah.
that's true though. And I actually, you know what? And that alone, Rory, is a huge stride.
Yeah, it is.
That is a huge stride. And like, I talk with people that are in their 60s and 70s. They're like, yeah, we used to like have to like be afraid of like like any of this stuff. And it was
Yeah.
like there were 3 strains: Panama Gold,
Oh,
like
yeah,
Colombian
yeah.
Red, or like
Acapulco. Yeah. They always
yeah.
have They always go back to those.
Yeah,
With
it's like,
Acapulco
they're
Gold,
like,
Panama
yeah,
Red,
yeah,
and
yeah. or like like Purple Haze or something.
Yeah.
It's like there were only 3 or 4, and it's like it came from Mexico in a brick, and it was just like Cheech and Chong. It was like, no, we didn't use the album to roll. It was like, wow, all right, there you go.
That's funny. Me and my buddies actually talked about that. I was like, why don't we just do a whole podcast of all the sketchy weed deals we did back in high school? Like all the times we were desperately trying to find weed on a Friday night, and like,
oh man,
well, my brother's cousin. Oh no, my cousin's like
so
best
and so,
friend's brother
dog
has
sitter, has like.
We meet him in a Shop and Save parking lot, and he throws a bag in our window, and it's like, okay.
Or like, I mean, like the fact that like they even were able to make the movie Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. Like that Seth Rogen was able, and like he has been so successful and loved by just like
talk
everybody.
about a functional stoner.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like the guy's out here making vases. You see the vases
Yeah,
he makes?
I love.
Dude, I love that guy.
He's actually a really cool guy.
Yeah, he is.
Seems to be a really cool guy.
I would have a coffee with him.
Yeah.
And there are very few people in Hollywood that I would actually want to have a coffee
that
with.
seem down to earth. I think there's a few people in that collective of people. That,
who else are you? Who do you dig?
Jay Baruchel. I'm not sure if you know who he is.
Yeah.
But he's friends with Seth Rogen. I actually watched his interview one time. He's not really huge in Hollywood right now, but it's because it's his choice. He doesn't like the scene at all. And that's like one of the things that I thought was cool. Is like he'll go hang out with his friends, but he wants nothing to do with that lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, but thinking about like celebrities I'd like to hang out with, none of them are really actors.
No.
A lot of it seems to be more musicians or comedians.
Yep. Yeah. Same here. Well, those are, I think, as far as you go, the more real people, because like it's like, oh, can you believe this actor did this? And it's like, yeah, I can. Why is that? Well, we asked them to take on somebody else's skin every year.
Yeah.
Like, you ask them to literally, like, climb into the role of somebody else. You know how unhealthy that is for the human psyche?
Yeah, in method actors, people are like...
Nicolas Cage, all these people, holy fucking shit, they're crazy.
Yeah.
And they admit it, though.
Yeah.
They're, like, self-aware enough that they know they're insane. It's like...
It's like I watched that Jim Carrey documentary.
Oh, my God, me too. The Andy Kaufman thing. Holy shit.
I remember texting my buddy and being like, dude, you got to watch this.
I was like, Dad, come in here a minute. Like,
the beach scene when he's on the beach? Yeah. I'm like, yo, what's going on? He looked at me, he tapped me. I was like, what?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Or like, it's like, somebody like Andy Kaufman, just like him
in
that
general.
Guy,
yeah.
Genius comedian.
Mm-hmm.
Broke a lot of ground for comedy.
Yeah.
But mentally... insane and unstable, unfortunately, and like I don't know if like there was help. Can you and not to say like you can't help everybody, but like how do you help a guy like that though? That they're just like there's just
I think a lot of the best comedians
or like
are
Robin
mentally
Williams,
kind of
like Robin Williams was just so just bang 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 bang, like it's like you talk to any of the guys who ever like roomed with him, he never stopped. He was always doing voices, like it was 24/7. Like the guy didn't shut off, and he was like horribly. I mean, like some of the funniest people, unfortunately, are terribly depressed and sad people, which is and lonely. Ironically, when you have millions of people love you,
right? But
like,
even like in smaller aspects,
right?
I mean, like I suffer from depression, and I find myself to be a rather funny person. Seasonal depression every year really gets me.
Oh yeah.
But I do use comedy to kind of get out of it, and it's not like detrimental or
right,
anything, and I'm aware of it. You know what I mean? So.
Right, no, that's fair too, though. That's true. On this, you got to remember the small scale. I mean, I've been there. I understand.
Right,
I've been there myself. I get it. You just feel like you're trapped some days. And it's just like, man, like I gotta find some avenue to, healthfully express this, and so like, the comedy, the music, the whatever, and that's what I think is cool about, like getting back to like, some of the real people, it's just like they'll just sit there and they'll explain life to you, and that's why I like listening to a lot of these like Frank Zappa is one of my favorite people to listen to in interviews, because that guy, as much as he was like, as I've said before on the pod, as much as he was like the titties and beer guy, he was also like this just very intelligent, like, and I thought for the longest time Frank Zappa did all these drugs. Frank Zappa didn't touch a fucking single drop of anything.
Really?
He was a sober dude. But he like talked about like there's great interviews that I've talked about before about him talking about all the mental health problems in America, and this is back years ago, and how there were going to be all these problems. I'm not saying he was being overly prophetic about it, but just in the sense that like they knew
he was on something.
He was on to something, and that's what I like about and that's why I was going to say earlier to one of your other points is like music is kind of like the pipeline or the gateway or like the IV into like what is going on.
Yeah.
At that time.
No, for sure.
in a lot of ways, and less so, I guess, now in certain aspects because of like the over pop and like capitalism of the music industry. But like
Right.
now that we have all these independent artists, though, at the same time, like you do still get that in like the indie and like the other stuff.
Right.
It's just in different genres now. It's not as quite mainstream, I think.
Yeah, I find myself seeking out music a lot more,
Yeah.
not having it like really broadcast to me, because I feel like the stuff
Yeah.
that I hear naturally, like whether it be on the radio or through
Yeah,
a
the
TV
top
or whatever,
40 or whatever. Yeah.
that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. So
No.
I hear a lot of people say there's no good music out and stuff like that, and it's like
Wrong.
I always just tell people you gotta look, you
gotta
gotta
look,
look,
yeah.
you gotta. There's new
Yep.
music coming out every day,
Oh yeah, there is.
so
Yeah, there is.
there's definitely new artists that are good.
Yeah.
There's a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
that are bad. There's a lot that are good.
That's exactly it. I actually stumbled upon a guy by the name of Moonwalker. Does kind of like alternative rock kind of stuff. It's very much like anti-establishment type of stuff, but you know, like very like social critique, very you know, modern critique. Not like to a sense like, oh, we're gonna pay reparations and do all this type of stuff, but like in the sense that it's just like, you know, he has a song, "The TV Made Me Do It," where he talks about like all these things in society where we've like been overhyped, and it's just like, you know, like, you know, the government says the TV's gone, you know, the government says the media's gone too radical, and then the media says the government's gone too radical.
Right.
And so just kind of like the hypocrisy, you know, just
Right.
talking about the hypocrisies. He claims that it's the music we'll listen to when we overthrow the government. So it's like you go into it with that type of
Yeah.
vibe, but it's just like that's not somebody who's pushed by like mainstream record labels.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, but he's
definitely
like,
not.
big enough following on Spotify and whatever, you know, doing well
Right.
enough, and like probably end up tagging him in this episode just because you know, like good and early on fan, you know, long
Yeah,
enough
no,
in the
that's good.
sense that you know, I don't even, and or like some of these other groups, like a lot into like the newer like folk Americana type stuff, like TK and the Holy Know Nothings,
Yeah.
a really great group. They're from like, I think they're out west somewhere, but like
Yeah,
they won't
yeah.
even end up out here. You know what I'm saying? Or like,
Right.
I'm being a jam band guy, being into the Grateful Dead, getting into like the third generation jam bands like Goose.
Yeah.
They were just.
Did you just go see them?
I didn't, because it was I didn't realize it was a Wednesday night show. And
So-
midweek shows are so hard for me.
Are they good? Because
Yeah, oh, yeah.
a few people I went to work
Goose is
that I
real
work
good.
with,
Yeah.
they were talking them up, saying they couldn't wait,
Goose
and they
is
all
real
went.
good, and I mean they had Trey Anastasio from Fish.
Yeah,
and, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Trey is incredible.
Yeah.
I don't like Fish a lot personally, and it's like actually a coworker of yours, Andrew, who's a big Fish guy. We
Yeah.
talk about music a
Yeah,
lot.
Andrew's the one who went to see.
Yeah,
Goose,
yep. He was going to that, and I was just like, he goes like, you got to listen to more. You just got to listen to it more. It's like I was like, I'll try and get in. You know, it's
This
just, but
just-
but it's like everybody assumes like, oh, you listen to jam bands, you must love Fish too, and I'm like, no, like not.
Well,
not,
I mean,
not a
that's
big,
with any
you
genre.
know, right? Yeah, it's.
I
just like,
love rap. That's
Oh,
I
you
love
must
hip
love
hop.
50 Cent automatically. Like it's like no.
I mean, Get Rich or Die Trying,
Yeah,
classic
right.
album.
Yeah, no, that's
but
true.
from that point
Right.
on, no.
Right. Okay. Well, actually, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
I kind of want to. Speaking of rap music, not to keep just hopping from one thing
Yeah,
to
no.
another, but speaking of rap music, everything that's going on with Kanye right now.
Yeah.
I was talking with somebody actually. I was at a wedding a few weeks ago, and he was a big Kanye fan. I've been a huge Kanye fan for a long time, and I really understand like his musical genius in a lot of ways,
Right.
like with some of his older albums.
Yeah.
But what he is doing now is just toxic and just like
Yeah, this is
bad.
one of those things where
Like,
whoever is close to him, I'm not sure who is.
Who
I
it
know like
is,
some of
yeah.
his closest
Yeah.
people, like Pusha T,
Yeah.
I know is really close to him. But somebody needs to
but
say
he's
something.
even like pushed away Kid Cudi, like who I
Yeah,
thought like
yeah.
was a
But this is like
you know, like I don't know. It's
you see this before the end. I feel like
Yeah,
a lot of the times,
yeah.
and I know
he's
like
imploding.
yeah. And I mean it's sad
Yeah, it really no, it is
because I don't like to see that with anyone. I'm not a huge
No.
Kanye West fan. I
No.
think I think he's annoying like everyone else.
Right, yeah. But like I don't know, like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, that album, the production value is elite.
Yeah.
Life of
Even
Pop-
some of his
earlier
college
stuff.
dropout,
yeah,
stuff
that
like that late
production value
registration.
is elite.
Yeah.
And I mean just like who he worked with, you know, discovering people,
Yeah.
like the whole like early 2010s of like the good music stuff.
Yeah.
Like that stuff.
I
Was
mean,
all,
Pusha T, one of my
Yeah,
favorite
right.
rappers, and he
Pusha
gave
T,
him so much creative control over good music
Yeah, he did.
that he's now the president of it,
Yeah.
and potentially probably the only reason why they're still even doing anything.
Floating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, but like that 3 run of short albums, you know, the Kids See Ghosts, the Daytona,
Yeah.
and Yay.
Yeah.
Like, I thought those were going to change how albums were done. I thought
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know Kanye had said that, but I honestly thought people were going to start doing like
And
shorter.
editing their albums afterwards, which
Yeah.
is something that they
Yeah.
all did on those albums too.
Yeah.
Where they
Which
would
was-
change tracks
Yeah.
afterwards. I don't know if it was based on response or what was
Or-
going on, but
Right.
yeah.
And those were just
Was
yeah, those were just cool.
Yeah.
Those are just really cool. Elite in a lot of ways, in my opinion. You know, it's just, and I that's basically what we've all come to the same conclusion. Like, it's just like, like we can't condone like what he's doing right now, but like whoever is like close to him really needs to like help him out or get him back on his meds or whatever. Like,
Yeah, and
'cause
maybe
he's just like, I don't know, or
I mean,
maybe
it's
maybe this
yeah.
is really him. I don't know. Like, I don't think it is, but maybe it is. I don't know.
I mean, seeing like documentaries and hearing other artists talk about him, I guess he's always been kind of like out there.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, right.
So I feel like it's one of those things. He's one of the most popular people in the world.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things. His mind's got to be fucked.
yeah, it just is. It's warped anyway. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been run over a couple times, like, and that's true. I mean, like, he's gone through a lot of traumatic shit even before, like, the last few years. I mean,
Yeah, he's
like,
lost
Through
his
the Wire.
mother
I
there.
mean, through his mother, but, like, the whole thing with Through the Wire, the car accident, all that
Yeah.
stuff, like, that changes a person.
No, that's true.
Yeah, that type of stuff. Like, and that's way back now.
Yeah.
That's like ancient history as far as, we're concerned.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, but every little thing kind of like.
it's all a puzzle piece,
yeah.
man. It's a building block. And it's like, well, you look at like, like the charcuterie board of someone's life. It's like whatever the pepperonis represent or the cheese represents.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, that's
no.
like that piece, that
Definitely.
goes into that bigger whole. And so I guess like just to kind of get back to the marijuana thing for a quick second, we kind of veered hard off from that and end up with Kanye. But like, what would you say, like, I guess like kind of like rounding this out a little bit, biggest misconceptions people still have about like the marijuana industry today?
Biggest misconceptions, I think, would go back to that, like the stigma behind
Same
it.
stigma.
Yeah, mostly just. I think a lot of people don't realize that it's a legit medicine
Yeah, right.
because it's not federally accepted as it.
Right.
You know
and
what I mean?
Until
And
it
it's-
is legally. And that's, I guess,
Yeah.
that was kind of ties into the next thing I was going to talk about is kind of like the federal. Like we here in Maine and like the majority of New England, with the exception of fascist New Hampshire,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
just don't want legal weed for some reason. I don't understand it. Everybody else is pretty much cool with it, except
Yeah.
for like I
Did they just-
joke saying that,
Yeah.
but it's just I don't even think they've voted on it before and it's failed. I don't think there's enough. people that
Recently,
are-
didn't they just have a few other states that were voting on it?
yeah,
and
I'm sure.
I think what was it? The Dakotas both voted against it.
Yeah,
again
they're
or something like
they're
that?
pretty conservative
Yeah.
out there though.
Yeah.
I
But-
don't know. It's just like until you convince people, like either that there's either a monetary some of these conservative people, there's a monetary benefit to it, like in terms of like revenue for the state.
I
You know,
feel
and,
like I want to say Colorado proved that.
Yeah,
when
no,
they
I
first
think
started,
so.
I
but
thought
it was like, oh, that's just one state.
Yeah.
It's like we need to like actually like be able to like pave the roads in gold with it or something.
Oh,
You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
something,
Like
yeah.
like something like that. I don't know. Like I think there's a lot, but then again, that gets into state politics, and that's a whole different.
well,
side
we
of the
have
coin, but-
witnessed the boom.
Yeah,
It's already hit its
yeah.
it's
We're at
max.
the point of saturation now.
for sure.
those
It's a
who are gonna-
completely oversaturated market right now, and I feel bad for the places that are just opening up and maybe
Yeah.
have spent a lot of money because it's going to be hard for them to find
It
their
is.
niche.
Oh yeah,
And then
I thought about it at one point. Me and about a couple buddies of mine, and then we were like, I'm like, dude, I think we've missed it. And this was like 2 years ago that
Mhm.
we talked about it.
If
I was
I
like-
give this advice, not like kind of like I kind of hold it tight
Right.
because I really do think it's the next thing.
Yeah.
But psychedelic mushrooms.
I was gonna say the
Yeah.
same thing because
Psychedelic mushrooms.
Denver just approved it a couple of
Right.
years ago. They legalized it
Yeah,
for like, it's great for microdosing for people with
exactly.
PTSD.
I think
that's the next boom. I
yeah,
think.
and that one will be even harder
Yeah.
than the medical marijuana to get over the stigma
Oh,
because you instantly think of magic mushrooms, magic mushrooms.
Or,
But
like,
microdosing
hypnotoad or
is
some
it's
shit.
proven
Yeah, yeah.
to help benefits depression. Like there's like so many different things that
Oh.
you can use.
Definitely.
And like what do they call it? The ego death.
Yes.
It really does. It brings you back.
Oh yeah.
To
It kills your ego.
yeah, it kind of brings you back down to earth and just now that I haven't done mushrooms in fucking years and years and years, but like I always tell my friends that like if I ever did another psychedelic, for sure it'd be mushrooms because
Yep.
I would never touch anything that wasn't from the earth. Pretty
Right,
much is
I don't
how
blame
I feel
you.
now.
I don't blame you. I try to live by that mentality myself. It's just it's easy to just reach for an ibuprofen or something like that. It's like or like, but like at the same time, it's like if that does end up killing your ego, or at the same time, excuse me, you do see the benefits from the micro. And I know that there are.
Yeah.
I've read plenty of studies and seen
Mushrooms
even,
in general, not even
yeah.
just psilocybin.
No. Yeah,
Yeah.
any of that really. I mean, and that's like the stigma that was created around that too was because of like the wild acid tests and shit that people used to throw back.
Yeah.
And Grateful Dead being a part of that, they
Yeah.
played at one of the big acid,
yeah.
the big acid tests. But anyway, that
Which is nuts.
which is nuts at the
Yeah.
same time. And if that's your avenue, by all means, that's your avenue.
Yeah.
But But at the same time, it's it is a little crazy though that you're just like there is such a stigma against like anything from that when there are benefits. It's like we haven't been able to really be, and that's like one thing I want to talk about on the weed front too is like we haven't really been able to research things as thoroughly as we should. Because it's been illegal really for so long, and same thing with mushrooms too,
Right.
or LSD.
Right.
I mean, there has been research done, but like in Israel and like other places where it's been kind of cool.
Mm.
But like here, it's like American academia has had very little experience with it at the end of the day.
Right.
Whether it be from the benefits of THC or hydroxy, whatever, blah blah blah. It's
Right.
like, they've just very little, and I think that's that. And at the end of the day, really, weed needs to be federally legalized. Again, that's my opinion, but like, I do think it's just like you can't. I guess like that's the epitome of America. At the end of the day, we're kind of backwards in the sense that like, like the states can have it. Like I understand states' rights and all that stuff, but it's just like if enough states have done it, just that doesn't mean your state has to just like start growing fields and fields of it.
Right.
But don't like get all how much easier like in my opinion government's supposed to make life easier for people, not harder. And like to not even allow people to like travel from state to state with it is insane.
Right.
Or, like if you have to like physically worry about like
okay, I'm going to
I'm going on vacation to Florida. Here's a great example, right? I'm going to vacation at Florida. I have my medical card, blah blah blah. Like you travel, you can't really fly with it. Like it's like. And you create a very, let's say, moral and legal gray area for a lot of people who aren't not going to travel with it because they're going to feel like crap without it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
all the time I hear, what's the easiest way to get this on a plane? I go,
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. I've never been on a plane, so I don't know the easiest way to smuggle any sort of
anything.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm so like I've never been on a plane. Honestly,
right? Yeah,
I've never been on a plane, and so like.
But you understand
I don't think I would.
it's like, man, do you even chance it? Like I hear about people that do and they get away with it. It's like
a lot. I guess.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
It's like all right, like I guess Like
I was like,
whatever.
and I thought in a post 9/11 world that wasn't happening.
No, me either.
Yeah.
Like I thought, like Big Brother saw everything.
Yeah, I thought that was.
Apparently, I mean, not to get too conspiracy for a minute. Apparently, a lot of from what I've heard, and this is allegedly, a lot of those machines are just there to mess with your mind. Like stepping into the ones that you put your arms out and it does a few rotations around you.
Yeah.
Like it's a metal detector, but at the end of the day, like it's more of a mental war.
See how you
like TSA is more of like a psychological war than it is an actual like. I mean,
yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, then you read about like MK Ultra and this other shit, and you're like, all right, yeah, that's dumbed down enough. That's possible, or some shit. It's like possible. I don't know if that's true or not. That's a little bit of a conspiracy theory there, but like I don't know. It's just like you wonder. It makes you wonder. It's like it's interesting how like again at the end of the day, I feel like government's supposed to make our lives easier, not harder, but they just like to like poke us with a stick a little bit from time to time.
No, you're right.
I don't know. That's why I think it's cool. Like, I know, like, for example, like we just had the most recent election and, kind of rounding out the topic of marijuana, but to see like even like modern political candidates like support even at a local level, like Craig Hickman, he's a cool dude.
Yep.
Like he's a gay farmer that is cool with marijuana.
Really?
I'm pretty sure like that's his like story.
That's
I'm
his
pretty
thing?
sure. And like he's in like the main House or Senate or something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I
Hell
mean
yeah.
but you guys had like the flyers for him.
Yeah.
Like he's great.
Yeah.
He's done a lot for the people. Like it's just really kind of cool. Like that's
right, and that
completely
shows how
accepted now.
Maine has come.
And or like there are other people too that are just like I know I've seen but like a different type of candidate like in some of these like southern places or out in Chicago, like a guy like lit up like a joint in like a city council meeting or like and he's smoking a joint in, like one of his political ads and like my buddy's like this is gonna change things, like this is where I'm like nah, he's gonna lose.
Yeah.
And he goes, why? How can you say that? Like I'm like, dude, I used to run campaigns. I'm gonna tell you, all the 60-something-year-olds they're not gonna be cool with that.
No.
Like,
and it's like,
one thing to say you're cool with it, but it's another thing to physically show you doing the substance.
right.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's
it's like they're not.
it's unnecessary.
People are cool with
Yeah.
it, but they're not that cool with
Right.
it. Like if you just start like rolling a blunt in your campaign, if you're like hey guys, this is my views on healthcare, and you're like rolling
You're right,
a joint
and you're
or
rolling a
something,
joint,
they're
yeah.
gonna be like
Yeah. Yeah, give something your full attention.
Yeah. It's like, but the guy's like smoking a joint in his campaign ad, like proving he's like cool with weed. I'm like, that's great, but like,
I mean,
good to him, good for him, like good for him. But like, man, I don't know. I just don't think like that we're at the point where that's cool yet.
Yeah, I know I've seen some pretty messed up political campaign ads. So I imagine you've seen some really messed up ones before.
I've seen some shit.
Yeah, I've seen some shit. I mean, is it like super popular to just have them rap now? I'm like,
I hate that shit.
What's up? What's going on?
They loved Rory. They love doing that cringe shit because they don't think they're like, oh, this is gonna be so good. Like one of the campaigns I worked on, and I'm gonna leave this one anonymous because there could be people listening that can get me in trouble for this one. But there was the candidate. They really wanted to push to put the candidate on TikTok, and I'm like, guys, he's an older gentleman. He is not made for TikTok.
Yeah,
he doesn't understand TikTok. Let's keep him off it. If we get him talking on Facebook or Instagram Live, that's good enough as far as I'm concerned. And, they put him on TikTok. And, man, oh, man, I put I was just, it was cringe.
He was
so cringe.
Yeah.
He's like, hello, TikTok. I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a great boss, but just, man, just not made for TikTok.
Yeah, no, that'll happen.
It's just
not everyone's made for TikTok.
No,
I'll be honest.
I'm not.
I think that I've
Are you
on
TikTok?
I am on because I have 2 teenage girls that are like, you gotta see this. You gotta see this. I have one video on TikTok, almost 1,000 views.
That's.
I don't know if that's good.
I
really don't.
I actually had I had Rob Burnell on the podcast a little bit ago.
Yeah.
I know you know Rob, and he was saying he's like, hey, man, the thing you got to do is you got to get on TikTok. You'd be great on TikTok, man. And I'm like, yeah, but like China mines my data, and like, and I'm like, I don't know. I just like I don't need another like distraction from like my real life. You know what I'm saying? Like what's going on in the now and my like friends and like. I don't know. I just don't feel like I have the time. I have a hard enough time posting stuff for just like Instagram and Facebook. Thank God that they allow you to post from one to the other seamlessly.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
Like, God damn, sometimes I don't have time to post between the two.
I was writing stuff down in my like podcast planner the other day, and one of the things was just like ideas, and one of the things was setting a schedule for social media.
Yeah,
so on
right.
So just in my head, I know, okay, I haven't posted today. I got to post on this or do this.
See, I do like a Tuesday, Thursday, and then like the optional Saturday or Sunday thing because I have my episodes come out on Tuesdays usually anyway, and so like that works out with that. But it's just I don't always feel like I have the content to like like I should get more sound bites, and once I have video, that will change things quite a bit.
Right.
I know that for a fact, but like it's just like sometimes finding the content, like other than you always seem to find stuff which is kind of cool, or at least from my perspective, seeing what you post, it's like Rory always finds this, and it is relevant. You know what I'm saying?
I find some weird stuff, but because I'm so irrelevant with my content, it makes it
everything is content.
It makes everything.
Right. Well, I was like. I had something the other day. I almost saved it and sent it to you. It would have been up. It was funny. I opened up a panel at work, and it says "fur nice" instead of furnace, and I'm like,
"Fur nice,
fur nice,
fur nice." I was
like, "Fur nice," and then I take a Snapchat of it. And it was like, "You can be nice, but you'll never be fur nice." And I'm like, yeah, that's up somebody's alley.
Yeah,
I was like,
good.
Man, like that's just you gotta laugh.
No, see, you would be great on TikTok.
Yeah.
That's a TikTok right there.
I know. See, that's my brain, man.
Yeah.
That's good. It's a dark and wild place. But no, it's it's just another thing. It's like, and I don't know. It's just it is at the end of the day. It's just another thing.
It is, and I was gonna say, I feel like TikTok was. That's the one that that's the cutoff for me because I lived through MySpace, the progression into
same.
Facebook.
Yep.
I was able to deal with Instagram, and I'm even got Snapchat.
Yep.
But TikTok is like, I think it's that next step where I'm like, maybe I got to dip out. Maybe this is the last.
There's just too much cringe shit on that place for me. Like between like the over sexualized content. Don't I'm not one of these like overly like
prudes or something.
I'm not a prude. Yeah, by no means. Like I love
sexiness.
I love sexiness, but like at the same day, I feel like it's over sexualized. It's like every little fucking thing. It's like, God damn, can we just chill for a minute? Like,
yeah, especially where it's. Let's be honest, that's directed at younger kids.
Yes, it is.
TikTok is definitely for
fucking
a younger generation.
Yeah, and I mean, like I've taught. I was a middle school teacher for a year. I mean, and it disgusted me some of the stuff that like they were pumping to these. What is it? What are 7th graders like?
what, they're 13, 14 years old.
Like,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, what the fuck? Stop.
Yeah.
No, this
is.
isn't
It's messed
okay.
up.
And like I said, I'm not a prude, but it's like there's a time and place for everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even for people
we had
that are
like MTV.
yeah,
That's what
what
we
I'm
were
saying.
getting
Yeah,
like
you
the
know,
bad
like, you know,
stuff
like,
from.
I think the worst I saw on TV was like Jersey Shore, and like so be
Yeah.
it, like whatever. And like I don't know, I just feel like with like the streaming platforms, it's like. I feel like with Netflix, they're trying to like incorporate titties and like a titty into everything. Like they're trying to sneak just like overly sexualized shit in everywhere. It's like I don't know. It's just like because the streaming platforms don't have to follow the same rules as like as the the cable TV shows. But it's like
Well, there's that show Euphoria.
Yeah,
on HBO.
Yeah.
These are supposed to be
I've
high
never
school.
seen it, to be fair.
I haven't
like,
either, but I know that my daughter's a junior in high school.
Yep.
I know that she's watched it.
Yep.
And I know that my wife watched it.
Yep.
And when I went in and randomly was talking to my daughter, I talk to my kids every night, for a little while. And I go in and just hang out with them.
Yeah.
So I walk in a room and she just shuts off what she's watching. Obviously,
Yeah,
at this point, I realized later on that that's obvious why she does that.
Yep.
But she's like, yeah, I'm watching Euphoria. I told Mom that she should watch it. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So a little bit later, I go and I tell Erica, was like, yeah, she said something about that. And she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then a few days go by, and Erica's like, I watched that show. And why did Morgan tell me to watch this? And she's like, why would she think this is okay? I don't think she should be watching this. I went into a room and I said, do not let your sister be in the same room as you when you're watching this. Because, she has a younger sister who's definitely not allowed to watch that stuff.
No.
But I know my daughter's a junior in high school. I know she's,
right.
I know what I watched when I was, back then. I was watching R-rated movies or whatever was the thing. So,
at the same
whether
time,
I'm happy about it or not
no,
is another question.
That's no, I get it. You're a dad at the end of the day too, and like that's the crazy part right there. It's just like, I mean, I'm not even a parent. I mean, I've been around, but I've cared for, and I guess a certain capacity enough kids, and it's like, at least try to have some type of like moral aspect to it. It's like in some capacity. It's like, man, like. I don't know. It's just like even from anything from video game characters or whatever. It's just like over. Just over. It's just sometimes some shit's just too much. It's just like let's take it down a notch. Or like I don't know. Like I like Game of Thrones. I like that type of stuff. But it's like I just felt like sometimes some of it was just too much.
And they did it for the thrill. It's like
for the wow factor.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know. I liked House of the Dragon, but it's just like, and I understand like whatever Game of Thrones incest. It's like there's just an overly like large amount of incest in this show, though. It's like, can we tone this back just a little bit?
And maybe like we get it.
Yeah,
we get it. Like you're. Like you don't have to show us. We get what you're alluding
to. Understand.
For sure. Yeah. I love that. That's literally almost a quote that I told my friend. I was like, yo, dude, we get it. We get what's going on here. We don't need you to show us.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like you can pan out
we
know black.
We know what's about to happen.
Like,
fade to black. They'd love doing that. House of Dragons. They love making it dark for sure.
Yeah, they do.
That was a big thing this year. All the dark scenes.
Oh yeah, all the dark. Don't get me wrong. Love that show though.
Yeah.
I think they in terms of like coming off of how season 8 of Thrones ended.
Yeah.
I think and 7 too.
Honestly, kind of made me. A
Not
lot of my friends were
hate Game of Thrones again.
But the ending of regular Game of Thrones made me not even look forward to House of the Dragon.
Too. I was
until
like,
my friend was like, "You gotta watch it, dude. You gotta watch."
And it is.
I'll be honest, it took me probably 3 or 4 episodes until I cared.
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay, these characters don't.
Well, and that and the amount of dragons that are zipping around too is also kick ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I love dragons. I've always been.
I've always been big. I've always been big into like. But okay, so on the flip side though, I actually haven't talked about this on the podcast with anybody yet either. The the Amazon Lord of the Rings series. Were you
just watched one episode of it?
Okay,
and I wasn't excited for it, but after watching the first episode, I was pretty. I'm like, I think I like
thing.
This.
I don't. When it comes to these newer shows, I just accept the fact that there are going to be tweaks to some of the characters in terms of like, okay, are you a maybe this character was white in the books, but is black in the whatever. Mm-hmm. You just got to accept that there's going to be certain tweaks like that. Yeah. And some people get so bent out of shape on some of these like little changes and stuff. It's like, all right. I mean, like not to. I mean, it's
like the Little Mermaid
thing.
Not
to be too much of a spoiler, but I guess a spoiler warning and not like we get to see the creation of Mordor.
Yeah.
That's not a huge spoiler. I mean, like that if you've the show's been out long enough that if you don't know that happened, I'm sorry. You know, like, spoiler warning. Like,
I'm like, I've only watched one episode.
but you get to see the creation of. I'm not going to tell you how that happens because that's the whole build up of season 1.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into that because like you're watching it, but it's like that's cool. As far as I'm concerned, that's cool because that's not something we see in the Peter Jackson universe. Mordor is just there. It's been there. Like whatever.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
See, like, and like other stuff, seeing these characters, it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, don't get me wrong though. Like some of the writing is a little wonky in this Amazon show, but also too, like, Amazon is not a like. At the end of the day, you got to think about what Amazon is. It's not a film company. At the end of the day, like, yeah, they put out like
they want to be.
They
now,
want to
but
be,
yeah.
but they're not.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like, they need to get more writers and like better people over there. Like,
Right.
I don't know.
They're getting a lot of flack for their Thursday night football too. I hear.
Yeah.
Nobody's watching it. I
No,
guess.
well, it's the camera angles and stuff like that.
Is
They,
that
like,
what it
zoom
is?
in and out and swap around. I guess the announcers are just kind of
Bleh.
yeah. It's like I don't know. Like I don't know. I definitely have a preference. Like I'd rather watch like honestly. Let me see like NBC or CBS's broadcast.
Mhm.
Like honestly, I hate it. I hate it, ESPN. I
Right.
hate Monday night. I like Monday Night Football, but I hate the announcers for
Right.
ESPN.
Yeah.
It's just like and Fox, whatever. You
Yeah.
know, but like I'll take Tony Romo, and whatever.
Yeah.
Like I can't even think of who's on NBC now for Sunday night.
Yeah, I don't even watch
But-
much football.
but
I
it's
know
just like, it's just
the
like,
basics.
you
of-
know. Or it's like, but like even like like with the Celtics, like you have a pretty dynamic team. Like with
Yeah.
our local home, when you have the local home games.
Yeah.
With Scal and
Gorman.
Yeah. Like it's just like especially like to have somebody replace, Coach. When he passed.
Yeah,
it's
that
kind
was
of
rough.
crazy
Yeah.
to see Scal step in there and say, I like Scal a lot.
I actually
personally.
said something last night to my wife. I said, because I watch every Celtics game.
Yeah, of course, you're a
avid
big
fan. My
Celtics
whole
guy.
my
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
family. I like try to force everyone to watch it with me. And I actually told my buddy tonight. I'm like, Celtics game tonight. You coming over, right? He's like, yeah. But Mike has been like making some like off calls, like calling people by the wrong name, and I'm like, I remember seeing that with Tommy.
Yeah,
Like back on his like thing,
yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
man, I don't like this.
I don't like where this.
Who
is
are they
going.
gonna replace?
Yeah.
Like, because I when they first started introducing Scal, I would always be like, no, I wish it was Tommy. I want
Yeah.
Tommy because
Yeah.
Tommy he didn't care if he was a fanboy. He
Right,
would
yeah,
yell
yeah,
at
no,
the
no,
refs.
yeah,
He,
he
everyone
didn't-
knew he didn't care if there was a foul.
Yeah,
It wasn't a foul.
yeah,
it wasn't
no,
a foul. He was a Celtics.
Yeah,
he was a
diehard.
Celtic. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
I mean, like that's understandable. Though.
Yeah.
Like,
And now
you
I'm like,
expect that
I
from
wonder
him.
who's gonna come in and.
I mean, I don't know. Nobody that's at NBC Sports Boston right now. That's for sure. Like,
yeah,
I don't
see it, man.
I mean, I hope it's not like fucking DJ Bean or one of these other fools that they.
Oh, like, yeah,
I was like, man, I'd stop. Like Scal's good, but like
Scal is good.
it's just like I don't know. I'd almost like I don't know. I don't even know who you'd bring in.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. But I did like.
I don't even know. Like, do you bring in somebody from the 2000, another guy from the 2008 team that's in sports? Do you?
Well, they do have.
I mean, I kind of see like what not to get off topic,
yeah.
but like what the Red Sox kind of did this year with Nesson, changing that up a little bit, bringing in Tony Maserati into the booth, and with Eck leaving, bringing in like Euclid and like, and I thought that was really good. Like that was cool. It was like to hear like the players' perspective on things because they had played in the ballpark and they like knew everybody and they like know Jerry Remy and like everything like that. It was just really, really unique, and I think that was well done.
Yeah.
Versus like.
Yeah, I like the
So it
idea
makes
of
you
kind
wonder,
of
like, who are they going to bring in?
right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking because I grew up watching Mike and Tommy.
Right,
That was
yeah,
like
yeah.
I've watched Celtics forever, and I grew up watching them. So it's like, wow, thinking like, my kids won't be watching my Mike and Tommy or Mike and Scal.
Yeah, right.
even.
No, or like it's like to think that like I thought like I was gonna see Don Orsello and Jerry Remy forever. Like I just assumed like that's
Yeah.
and then Don Orsello's with the Padres and Jerry Remy's dead, and it's like, well, shit.
Well, shit.
Like there goes that. Like or like you think you're gonna see Tom Brady in New England forever? Guess what?
Yeah, no,
Nothing lasts forever, folks.
not even marriage.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, where do you think he goes next? Who's his new side piece? Do you think?
I don't know.
He's gonna have to find somebody.
You'd think it wouldn't be hard for somebody like that either.
Especially where he's living now.
I mean, you might not find comparable to like what he had before.
Well, you think he's gonna pull like a Leo role and go find like this like young girl?
That would be Maybe. I mean, he could.
I mean, he could.
How old is Tom Brady?
45, 40.
Yo,
No. Is he? No, wait, no. Is he 40? He's 40. No, maybe 41, 40. I gotta look. I gotta look.
My-
you keep
my
talking.
thought
Rory.
process-
I'm gonna look
Keep
up
looking.
how old Tom Brady is.
Well, I mean, he's been in the league for fucking
Years.
over 20 years now. Is that what they were
Right.
saying?
Yeah, I mean, like he's been in there for for a while anyway. I mean, like
So they were saying, did his wife leave him because of the
oh,
football
he
thing?
No, he is 40. Yeah, she did. So
Is that
he had the
legitimately?
option. Yeah, no, he there was the option, bag or a wife. He picked the bag. Like his wife's like, you're gonna retire, and that's why he like
Retired, right?
retired and then unretired because he went with the wife, and then he's like, no, I want to play football. Yeah, he is 45. He's 45 years old. Guy's 45 years old. He wants to play to 50, I think. Yeah, he's played 20 seasons.
Dude.
Yeah, like over 20 seasons. Yeah, yeah. Spouse Giselle Bundchen, however you
Bundchen.
Yeah, yep, yeah. It even says on the internet that they're not married anymore. How about that?
Yeah, I did just
Yeah.
see that she moved in across the street from him, though.
That-
Imagine being a celebrity and just being
see,
like,
that's-
all right, we're split.
yeah,
But don't worry, I'm buying the house
to
across the
bring
street.
up Kanye again. He moved down the street when him and Kim split.
Yeah.
So you see his kids. It's like, hey,
I
dad.
get it.
Like,
Yeah,
I
hey,
get
dad.
it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're rich. You're rich. Like, you should be able to like use that privilege to do something, I guess. But
Right.
it's like some type of flex, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe
Other
live
than that-
on another street. Like
I don't
you-
know. Or like, yeah, I need like a couple streets over,
Yeah.
like the next neighborhood or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the same city should be fine.
Yeah, no, that's
Just
that's
watching the other
equitable. Yeah,
half of
yeah,
your family
yeah.
grow up.
just like looking through the curtains.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm going to
oh,
dad.
they're having a barbecue.
Walk out the
like,
front
yeah,
door,
yeah,
walk
yeah,
into
across
the-
the street.
Yeah.
So technically, you ran away from home, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's just like I said. That's hey, as you say, buddy. That's the world
That's
we're
the world
living
we're living
in. See, like I'm glad you have that because I need to find a coined term like that, to wrap things up. Just
Yeah.
sum it up because that hits the nail on the head quite well. It's
Yeah.
very apt.
Yeah.
Very apt.
Yeah. My buddy,
How did that
when-
come about? Like the name?
It's actually one of my good friends. It's like kind of a joke saying that we
Yeah,
would
yeah.
always say back and forth. It
Yep.
was just like,
I'm sure. I
Yeah.
figured there was a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then it kind of just made sense.
Yeah.
It-
No, it
as
does.
like a-
right.
as like a
It
thing.
does. Very much does.
And when we came out during the pandemic, a lot of people I think thought it was going to be based on like the world we're living in,
Right.
and it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
It's
it
just
is.
a more comedic take on
Yeah, yeah.
like the world we're living in.
Yeah, right on. Well, yeah, you guys can find That's the World We're Living In on any of, like Rory said, any of the major, podcast listening audio platforms. Video soon to come. Stay tuned for that and the new season coming up here. Rory, again, buddy, thanks for coming on. This has
Yes,
been great.
thank you. That was awesome, man.
Yeah,
I
greatly
appreciate it.
appreciate it. Yeah, right. Likewise, and great to have for the first time, another podcaster on. That's unique. And
Definitely.
again, as we've talked about before, like in our field, not everybody's always the nicest and receptive.
Or
I know
open.
we know each other at different mediums too,
Yeah.
just other than being podcasters, but it's like unique that you get to come on and casually
Right.
just like have a friendly,
I mean, maybe it's good that we have different
avenues
avenues
too.
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I've always been really
I've
open
always-
with anyone.
right.
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool. And again, I was, to wrap things up, it would be cool to, like, as we've talked about, maybe start like a podcast collective,
A
you know,
network. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
like-minded folks,
Mhm.
that all record out of the same space. And
Yeah, I thought about that before because like I put a lot of money into my studio.
I
Like
mean,
I like
I mean, maybe not. I mean, I put enough. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
Like, it's,
and like I built out a room in my garage
Yep.
for it, and like I have the equipment. I've always thought like, man, like more people could be utilizing.
yeah. I mean,
this, you
even
know what I mean?
even what I have set up. I mean, like it's
Exactly.
just, and I like with mine. It's mobile enough to the sense that I can, like, if I want to do an episode from the back of my pickup truck, I can.
Have you done any on the like mobile
I plan
episodes or
to.
anything?
I want to do like one from the hike a mountain and do a podcast
Oh,
from the
that
top
would
and
be
do like
dope.
kind of stuff like that because it is like, and this isn't heavy. I mean, like
No,
my audio interface isn't heavy. Honestly, the heaviest thing is like the microphones and the laptop. Like, I mean, and that's not
Right.
even that heavy. Really,
And you
at
could
the
get a
end of the day.
backpack.
Oh
or
yeah,
something for
I've
bringing
got
shit.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like that's the type of, like I said, I really would like to, like I said, aspiration wise, build it into something bigger than it is. But if it doesn't,
Right. I
like
mean,
said,
there's a few podcast networks out there, and
Yeah.
I think it helps a lot because, like, like especially when we're not stepping on each other's toes with the
Right,
type
yeah,
of
yeah.
like
Well,
content,
yeah.
where it could be like, you can find all these blah blah blah,
Blah, blah, blah,
podcasts
all the-
at
yeah,
this, and
this,
then
blah,
like
blah, blah,
when
blah.
you're
Yep.
promoting your podcast, it's
It's
promoting
cross
mine. when I'm-
promotion, and
yeah.
that's the beauty of it too. And happy to do that. Do love doing that.
yeah.
So
I like the community aspect
Yeah.
of this. That's the main reason why I do it is
Yeah.
because of being able to like have conversations
Right.
with people.
Yeah.
And so
And that's the beauty of it, really. And so, again, thanks, buddy, for coming on. This has been great. And like I said, find That's the World We're Living on any of the major podcast platforms. And be sure to give Rory a listen. He's good stuff over there, and definitely a laugh for sure. And be sure to keep up with all of our stuff at DuView 207 on Instagram and the DuView podcast everywhere else on all of the listening platforms and on YouTube too. Really give us a thumbs up on YouTube or a like or a rate on any of the platforms. It really helps out. Beat the algorithms and all that wonderful stuff, guys. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and we'll be back soon with another new episode here to round out the year before 2022 comes to an end. We're almost there, guys. It's going to be almost December here pretty soon. So we'll see you guys in a couple weeks, and hopefully everybody's staying warm here in the coming cold months.